Hi there. After a bit of a news slump for the past 3 weeks since filming began, we just got a set of 3 new official casting announcements for House of the Dragon Season 3. All of them are from roles that we actually already found out about a couple of weeks ago when that casting sheet accidentally leaked, which might be why they're owning up to it now. They know we already know these roles are in it, might as well say who's playing them. For Bold John Roxton, Adrian Redfort, and Luthor Largent. Now I'm going to keep this video intentionally short because, like I said, it already leaked that these roles will be in Season 3, and I already made a bigger video discussing that, analyzing what impacts will this have on the structure of the season overall, what does it imply. That is linked below and at the end of the video about the fictional characters, so I'm sticking mostly to news about the actors that they've cast in this. I mean, really quickly, things like that the fact that they cast Bold John Roxton means that we're getting a decent amount of Daeron Targaryen's storyline. He's one of the best fighters in the army that Daeron is with. And if they were cutting Daeron's storyline down to the bare bones, they wouldn't have bothered casting that, much less with a reasonably prominent actor. So things like that, if we can tell Adrian Redfort is a Queen's Guard, why would you bother casting this? It could have just been an extra, that they made it a point to cast a decent-sized actor. Or Luthor Largent is the commander of the Gold Cloaks, the City Watch. And as you remember from Janos Slynt in Game of Thrones, the commander of the City Watch gets an unofficial seat on the Small Council, so he'll have a decent number of scenes in big, important Small Council stuff. But moving on, here's the actors. First and foremost, Brasso from Andor is playing Bold John Roxton. Joplin Sibtain, I'm mispronouncing that. He's also known for the Netflix series Safe. But that's another thing I said, well, maybe they're releasing it now because they knew it leaked. That was like 2 weeks ago. Maybe they're putting this announcement out now, at least for him, because Andor Season 2 just dropped and he's very prominent at the beginning of it. And it's so weird because Brasso is this reliable, salt-of-the-earth, working-class guy in there, dependable, good person. Bold John Roxton is not a good person. I mean, it's a cleaned-up way of saying Black John Roxton, Evil John Roxton. He murders people, he assaults women, he has a Valyrian steel sword named Orphan Maker, and lives up to that. I mean, he is one of the best fighters in the Hightower army, but against type that they have this guy known for playing a warm, good person as Bold John Roxton. I'll have to see that for his range, but other things we have Barry Sloane as Adrian Redfort of the Queen's Guard. That there comes a point when there's basically just one Queen's Guard left, Laurent Marbrand, because Rhaenyra only started with 3, the other 2 died. There comes a point where she says, promote up another 6 knights to my Queen's Guard. And they could have easily left this role out. That he comes on a ship with Torrin Manderly, who we know has also just been officially announced. Torrin Manderly, along with Roddy the Ruin Dustin, separate casting announcement. We have a video on that. So they're in this, and this could have been a background character. This could have been like Preston Greenfield from, remember, you don't remember him, that's the point. He was a background character mentioned by name as one of the other Kingsguard on Game of Thrones. That they're bothering to cast this as a speaking role with a real actor. What does this say about the season structure? Well, Barry Sloane is known for, well, he played a serial killer on Hollyoaks, and he was in Revenge. And also a prominent voice actor. He voiced Captain Price in 3 separate Call of Duty Modern Warfare games. Any fans, tell me in the comments. Another thing he's probably going to be best known for something that he's filmed but hasn't come out yet. It'll come out in July, so people will know him for this by the time Season 3 comes out. In the upcoming second and final season of Netflix's The Sandman adaptation, he plays Destruction of the Endless. Because there's 7 Ds like Dream, Death, well, he's Destruction. I mean, the trailer is out. You might have seen him in that, but he will be Destruction in... I have mixed feelings on that, but people will know him for that. But probably the biggest actor they've actually cast in this overall is for Luthor Largent, Commander of the City Watch. They cast Tom Cullen. He's been in a lot of period dramas in major roles. He was on Downton Abbey in seasons 4 and 5, in which he played Anthony Foyle, Viscount Gillingham, which is nice because the costume designer on House of the Dragon for season 2 and coming back for season 3, our current costume designer is Carolyn McCall, who was one of the costume designers on Downton Abbey, so nice when people see each other again. After Downton Abbey, where he had a reasonably prominent role, he appeared in the 2017 BBC One series Gunpowder as Guy Fawkes. It was a series about the gunpowder plot, because it was more than Guy Fawkes, it was a whole conspiracy. Guy Fawkes himself is not the main character in it, but one of the lead planners, Robert Catesby, played by Kit Harington. That you remember back in 2017 where all these posters for Gunpowder promptly showing off, you like Game of Thrones? Here's Kit Harington in our Guy Fawkes series, but he's playing a different person in it. Guy Fawkes does show up in it, he was played by Tom Cullen. And a funny thing is, Kit Harington is actually a direct descendant of Robert, so, hey, small world. After that, he starred as the lead role in the History Channel drama series Nightfall, about the Knights Templar, where he was the lead role as the Knight Landry de Lauzon. So, really prominent stuff in period dramas as knights and things already. But most recently, and I think most interesting, in 2022, he was on the Starz historical drama Becoming Elizabeth as Thomas Seymour. I don't get Starz, so I didn't see this, but it sounds like a really interesting show. I wish I could have seen it. That Becoming Elizabeth is a period drama about the early days of Elizabeth I. After her father, Henry VIII, died, but before she became queen, when... This is... Bloody Mary isn't even queen yet, it only lasted one season, but her early life after her father died, but her older half-brother is ruling as King Edward VI, and he's underage, there's all these regents jockeying for position. That Thomas Seymour is the brother of Jane Seymour, wife number 3. For those of you who watched The Tudors, because Natalie Dormer was in it, it's sort of like a loose sequel to that, I guess, that Thomas Seymour is the uncle of the current underaged king, so he's Lord Protector, he's regent, and I forgot that he actually married Catherine Parr, wife number 6, after Henry died, and he's the uncle of the son from wife number 3, and he's trying to rule everything, but meanwhile there's these 2 daughters, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And again, I was unaware of this show, I don't get Starz. Lady Jane Grey, a young Lady Jane Grey, is played by Bella Ramsey from Game of Thrones and now The Last of Us, the cousin who briefly becomes queen for a couple of days later on. Small world. So he has had some decently important roles. Downton Abbey, in Nightfall, most recently in Becoming Elizabeth. A lot of period drama stuff. And they cast him. It's a reasonably important role even in the book, just because, the commander of the City Watch, while the city is in a wartime condition, gets a lot to do, and he will be in small council scenes. But I was not expecting this prominent of an actor to be cast in the role. We're still waiting on a couple of other roles, though, just wrapping this up. There are a couple of spaces left. Like, when you look on the list, there's a dozen missing spots in the cast ranking in the 30s. But they're probably filled by people who just aren't in this episode, like Rhaenyra's council members and stuff. They have cast all of these people yet. When I say, they haven't cast it, they haven't announced Daeron yet. That is the big one we are waiting for. I don't know if Dalton Greyjoy will appear in Season 3. I hope he does, but with all the cuts, it might just end up being a mentioned in dialogue character. Because he does more later anyway. And they set him up in Season 2. I don't know what's going to happen. We're not getting Nettles at this point, but the most anticipated are Daeron, maybe Dalton. I'm not sure if they're going to cast the Blackwoods at this point. They name-dropped Ben Blackwood. if he's in, he's a much reduced role, and I understand that these are third-tier vassals. I don't expect them to be as big as, like, the Starks or the Lannisters or something. Another interesting thing is that they cast Adrian Redfort. Would they also, we hope, cast Jessamine Redfort, who's the best friend of Jane Arryn? The book never says how they're related. It just, the only two Redforts who are mentioned, are they brother and sister? Are they cousins? Doesn't specify. One thing I am hoping, not like these aren't going to be huge roles, but like Easter eggs for the audience. Like, I want them to cast Lord Tarley and Lord Caswell, because there has to be someone who Daeron and Ormond are fighting in the Reach campaign of the war that I'm looking forward to. There probably won't be a big role even if it comes, but hey, can we get, we're down to the nerdy Easter egg things. The one that the general audience is looking forward to is, we've been so hyped up about Daeron. Maybe Dalton because people like the Greyjoys. But moving down the list, there's decently important roles to us, the book fans, even if some of these are characters who do more in later seasons, like who do stuff in the Regency era, but that we would be excited for. But then again, like Oscar Tully was ranked number 40 in season 2, only had 8 minutes of screen time, and ended up being a really beloved character, so we'll see what they do. This is our first casting news in 3 weeks. We haven't had any appreciable spy photos. Well, actually, we're getting a lot of good spy footage from Unbox PhD. It's just, they're still building the ships. We haven't seen footage of them, through no fault of the spy reporters, we haven't seen them filming action scenes yet. Soon they will, because, they couldn't hide filming Battle of Rook's Rest. Still, of the 3 they announced, this gives me optimism that, with all the episode cuts and stuff, it is nice to see that, no, we are still casting relatively prominent actors in new roles, as opposed to stripping these roles away to, they could just be played by an extra or something. That they're still introducing relatively important things is cause for cautious optimism.